While you're paying rent, ordinary people are buying entire houses for less than the cost of a used car. It sounds like an exaggeration, but it isn't. In some cities in the United States, properties are listed for sale for under $20,000, and this is happening right now, at this very moment, while the real estate market in other parts of the country keeps breaking price records one after another. The question that remains is simple. Why doesn't anyone talk about this with the seriousness the subject deserves? In this video, you'll learn about 5 American cities where this kind of opportunity keeps showing up, and you'll understand exactly what's behind each low price, because not every cheap house is a good deal, and knowing the difference between the two can save or cost you a lot more than $20,000. The first city on this list is Detroit in the state of Michigan, and today it's one of the strongest examples that there's still room to buy cheap real estate in the United States. The city that was once the heart of the American auto industry is, in recent years, going through a real rebuilding movement, with investment arriving in several neighborhoods and a number of available properties that opens the door to deals that would be impossible in almost any other major city in the country. That's the backdrop against which complete houses show up for $8,000, $12,000, $15,000 with their own lot and plenty of space for an entire family. This kind of pricing exists because Detroit still has a large inventory of properties coming from foreclosure and from public tax lien auctions, which lets buyers enter the market paying a fraction of what they'd pay in practically any other American city. For those willing to roll up their sleeves, this means the chance to turn a $12,000 house into a complete home or into a rental property with a total investment that still falls well below the national average. The secret to making the most of this opportunity lies in choosing carefully. Detroit has neighborhoods that have been appreciating steadily, with new businesses, revitalized streets, and a growing community, and those are exactly the spots where money invested in renovation tends to pay off the most. A buyer who researches the neighborhood before closing a deal can turn a low price into real equity, with room to appreciate over the coming years. Detroit proves, in practice, that a city can reinvent itself, and that whoever arrives at the right moment with the right analysis will find one of the most accessible entry points for buying real estate in the United States today. The second city on this list is Cleveland in the state of Ohio, and it tends to top the lists of the most affordable cities in the United States, for good reason. The local market makes room for people who want to buy a real house without relying on a 30-year mortgage. You can find properties listed for $10,000, $15,000, sometimes under $10,000 in residential neighborhoods with full infrastructure and real potential for appreciation. These prices exist because Cleveland has a high number of properties coming from bank foreclosure and from sales due to unpaid municipal taxes, which puts entire houses on the market for a fraction of their traditional value. Contrary to what many people imagine, a good portion of these houses aren't falling apart. They're solid, brick-built structures in many cases that just need updating to work again as a full home. It's this type of property that tends to attract both first-time homebuyers and people who already see the deal as a source of income. What sets Cleveland apart among the cities on this list is the number of neighborhoods already in active revitalization. In recent years, the city has received significant public and private investment in areas like Ohio City and Tremont, with new businesses opening, restaurants moving in, and entire streets getting a fresh look. This kind of movement usually comes with gradual appreciation of the surrounding properties, which means buying today, even at a low price, could mean getting into a market that's about to grow steadily over the coming years. The city also has a more diversified economy than it seems at first glance, with a strong presence in healthcare, including nationally recognized hospitals, plus universities that keep a steady flow of people moving into the region. That helps sustain housing and rental demand in certain neighborhoods, which is good news for anyone thinking about buying cheap today and reaping the results down the road. For a buyer who knows where to look, a $12,000 house in Cleveland can, with a well-planned renovation, become a complete home or a source of rental income, with a total investment still far below what you'd pay for a similar property in any major city on the American coast. It's this kind of math that's leading more and more out-of-state buyers to look at Cleveland differently, seeing the city not as a market in decline, but as a market starting over. The third city on this list is Toledo in the state of Ohio, and it stands out for a detail that surprises a lot of people. Besides simple houses under $20,000, you can find properties with several bedrooms there, and even multifamily properties within that same price range. This breaks the idea that a low price means small space, And that contrast is exactly what makes Toledo one of the most interesting markets for anyone who wants more house for the same money. Toledo has an advantage that few cities on this list can offer: the size of the available properties. It's not unusual to find 4 or 5 bedroom houses with a spacious yard and a garage being sold for amounts that, in other parts of the United States, would barely cover a year's rent on a small apartment. For larger families, or for anyone who's always wanted extra space without paying a fortune for it, Toledo opens a door that practically doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. Toledo's biggest edge, though, lies in its multifamily properties. Buildings split into 2 or 3 independent units on the same lot, ideal for someone who wants to live in one unit and rent out the others, turning the purchase into a source of monthly income from day one. This kind of structure is rare to find at this price anywhere else in the United States, and it's exactly this earning potential that has drawn more and more out-of-state investors to the city. Toledo also has strengths that support this opportunity in the long run. The presence of major universities and hospitals in the city's central region keeps steady demand for housing and rentals, a good sign for anyone buying with future appreciation in mind. Neighborhoods near these areas have shown stability and even growth in recent years, reinforcing the idea that buying in Toledo today could mean locking in, at a low price, a property in a region with real potential for appreciation. The 4th city on this list is Gary, in the state of Indiana, and it might be the most impressive example among the 5 when it comes to the sheer number of properties under $20,000. Gary was once one of America's steel production capitals, and today it's become one of the places where your money goes furthest in the country's real estate market. Properties for $5, $8, $10,000 show up regularly in local listings, often with a full house, yard, and garage included. What makes Gary so special on this list is precisely the ratio between size and price. In few places in the United States can you find a complete property ready to house a family for an amount equivalent to just a few months' rent in the country's larger cities. For investors and buyers who know how to calculate returns, this is one of the most favorable price per square foot ratios available in today's American market, something almost impossible to match anywhere else in the country at this price level. Gary is also in the middle of a real rebuilding effort. In recent years, the city has been getting renewed attention, with revitalization projects in specific neighborhoods and initiatives aimed at attracting new residents and investors willing to bet on the region's growth potential. For those getting in now, this means the chance to buy at an early stage of that movement, exactly the kind of position that tends to bring the best long-term results in any recovering real estate market. Gary's proximity to Chicago also works in its favor. The city is less than an hour from Illinois' biggest metro area, and that strategic location has been drawing attention from people who want to live near a major metropolis without paying the prices charged inside it. That geographic advantage, combined with the lowest entry price among the 5 cities on this list, is what makes Gary one of the most promising markets for anyone looking to seize a real opportunity today. The 5th and final city on this list is Baltimore, in the state of Maryland, and it represents a different kind of opportunity within this list. Unlike Detroit, Cleveland, Toledo, and Gary, Baltimore is a city with a strong, diversified economy, an active port, nationally prominent universities, and hospitals recognized across the country. And even with all that infrastructure, you can still find properties there under $20,000, making Baltimore a rare combination, a low entry price within a market with solid economic fundamentals. These opportunities show up mainly through the city's public auctions, a well-organized system in which properties with unpaid taxes come back onto the market for far below their traditional value. At these auctions, you'll find everything from the classic row houses, i.e., an architectural style that's practically Baltimore's trademark, to larger properties with full renovation potential. For anyone who loves the historic charm of these buildings, many with original brick facades and details harking back to past decades, Baltimore offers something few cities on this list can match: architectural character paired with an affordable price. What makes this city even more appealing is that it's surrounded by a diversified, stable economy, with the Port of Baltimore among the busiest in the country, and it's less than an hour from Washington, D.C. That proximity to the nation's capital keeps steady demand for housing in the region, a positive sign for anyone buying with an eye toward medium and long-term appreciation, and it also makes things easier if the buyer is considering turning the property into a source of rental income. Baltimore closes out this list by showing that opportunity and economic solidity can, in fact, go hand in hand. For anyone who knows how to take part in an auction and is willing to invest in a row house with renovation potential, the city offers one of the most balanced combinations of low price, strategic location, and growth prospects among all 5 cities featured in this video. 5 cities, 5 different ways to get more for less, and a market that remains wide open for anyone willing to look beyond the obvious. If this content helped you see these opportunities more clearly, drop a like, it really helps the channel, and subscribe to keep up with the next cities and the next real opportunities in the American real estate market.